What's going on, guys? We're back to working on the motor for the V8 S10 swap. So in the last video we got into the basics of what we had and all the reasons why we chose this motor to do this swap. So the goal of today's video is to tear this down to hopefully its core. Whatever I have time to get done today is basically what's happening, and really see what we got to work with and what condition this engine's in. So that's what we're getting into. Okay, so far we've got the intake off here. We looked at the injection setup that it had. It's still the original. There's a crap ton of carbon in here, but that's kind of a good thing because it means no one's most likely been in here and messed with it. We've also got our super crusty headers off, which I'm super excited about because the other side, those bolts, there was basically nothing left of them. So the fact that they came off without having to do anything too crazy was a big win. So those are off. So we're pretty much getting into getting the rest of the intake off and the heads and getting down to those pistons. So the next big hurdle to get out is these spark plugs before I move along with anything else, just because they are super crusty. Get this light again. They're really nasty. Hopefully those come out without shattering. Knock on whatever I got here. So I'm going to start working on those. I'll go ahead and set up the camera on the tripod. We'll do another time lapse of ripping this down, and then I'll get back with you guys and show you whatever I find along the way. Okay, so we got our first head off. She's over there. If you couldn't tell on the time lapse, that thing was pretty well stuck on there. It was pretty hard busting this adhesion it had. Like, it was just basically stuck on there and do some prying. And of course, my dummy self missed a couple bolts. It doesn't help that, you know, they were covered in that kind of stuff, so it made it easy to miss them. But we got one off, so this is our first look of how this engine looks internally. So good thing right off the bat, all the pistons look pretty good. I don't see any cracks or anything. Cylinder walls actually look really good. You can still see the crosshatch, which is amazing. This is a 180,000 mile engine, and I see minimal damage to the piston walls or piston cylinder walls. So in fact, the SRT engine that we rebuilt had more damage than this. It had, you know, scratches going up and down, and quite the ridge up here. And this one is actually, you know, we have to get a micrometer involved, obviously, but doesn't look too bad, because the SRT had a noticeable ridge right here. It's a common thing that happens in all motors, because obviously it wears more down here than it does here, and it turns into kind of like a funnel shape. First glance, I think we're looking real good for reusing some parts and keeping this low budget, which is definitely what we want. So I still got that side to get off, but this side went pretty smooth. Now I know what I'm doing. Yeah, should bust apart pretty quickly. Check it out, guys. The sucker is getting shredded, and in a good way. So we already got that head off. Now we got this head off, and I was looking in the cylinders. Everything looks pretty uniform to the other side, which is good because the other side looked good. Just got all of the rest of the valve train pulled out of there. All of the little rollers, they all looked pretty good. So minimal wear and tear, nothing crazy like one got turned sideways or a bearing went out. Everything, this is showing signs of being a pretty good running engine at this point. They had no major issues, you know, besides for being full of carbon, because there's plenty of carbon and, you know, some extended oil changes, but that's fine as long as it wasn't completely neglected. These 350s are pretty tough. So now we're just down to rotating this sucker and pulling the bottom end apart, and I suppose I have to deal with this balancer here at some point. So everything top side's looking good. It's time to deal with this and go to the bottom side. Whoa, whoa.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Alrighty guys, we got this sucker tore all the way down. So cranks out, camshafts out, everything's out. We're pretty much down to just bare block. We got some stupid little extra stuff like that, but we are like 99% tore down. So the good part is we got our pistons and everything else laid out, and everything still looks really good. I haven't seen any major red flags, so we got a good donor, which is cool because when you get an engine from the junkyard, it's always a little bit of a toss-up. So that worked out. So the next step here is to pretty much get this all cleaned up, and I'm kind of laughing to myself because damn, this thing has a lot of carbon and sludge buildup on it. You can tell there was some extended oil changes, but that will clean up. I just have to put in some elbow grease. So I'm not going to bore you guys with that because that's just a matter of putting everything in the parts cleaner, rinsing it off, spraying like WD-40 on it so it don't rust, and getting it all back in its places again. So that'll be the next video. I'll have all this cleaned up and set to the side, and then we'll start getting into what we have to work with, what we're replacing, what we're not replacing, and what goodies we might be sneaking in here. So stay tuned. That's it for now though. So thanks for hanging out guys, and have a nice freaking day.